Ruby Bridges once said, I believe that we have to come together and we have to rely on the goodness of each other. Faith will help us get through this, just as it did before. She taught us all that we should all work together to get through harsh times. If we all work together and rely on ourselves, we can get through this pandemic. Ruby Bridges changed the world by showing people that they can make a change even if they are young. She made a difference in making sure that all students get the same kind of education and that all races can attend the same school. When Ruby Bridges was 2 years old, she had to move from Tylertown, Mississippi to New Orleans because there were better opportunities for her and her family there. She lived with her mother Lucille Bridges and father Avon Bridges. In order for her parents to keep the family growing, her father had to work as a gas station attendant and her mother had to take night jobs. She would always have to walk many miles to attend her all-black segregated school when there was an all-white school only 5 blocks away from her home. In order for Ruby to attend the all-white school, she had to take a test, but her father didn't want her to go to an all-white school. Eventually, her mother convinced her father that it would be better education for Ruby if she went to an all-white school. Ruby was one of the 6 African American students who passed the test. She was the first black child to attend an all-white school in the South, and she went to the one nearest to her home, William Frantz School. One way Ruby Bridges changed the world was by showing bravery and by showing people that they have to keep on persevering no matter what gets in their way. Throughout the whole time Ruby attended William Frantz School, hundreds of people would gather up and start yelling and throwing things at her, but that would never stop her from attending it. There was one teacher who was willing to teach Ruby, Barbara Henry. She would always support and help her with her studies, and she would help her get through the day. Her mother would always tell her to pray before entering the school, and that would always give her the courage to not give up. One of her marshals, Charles Burks, commented that she would never cry or whimper, and that she would always just march along confidently. Even though she was small, she taught all people that no matter how small or how big, anyone can make a difference. She taught us to not be afraid and have courage in ourselves through tough times. Another way Ruby Bridges changed the world was by creating the Ruby Bridges Foundation. She created the Ruby Bridges Foundation in 1999 in New Orleans, and it was established to help stop racism going around in the world. It promoted respect and equal treatment to all races in the world. The foundation was based on when Ruby crossed the barrier of segregation and when she changed education. She didn't only change desegregation but also changed society. She brought society and education together. The Ruby Bridges Foundation is like a reflection because it is showing her bravery and how hard she fought to end segregation in schools. Ruby might have not been the only one who changed society, but she was the one who had the faith and courage to go to an all-white school with people yelling and throwing things at her. She didn't let anything get in her way while going to school and changing education for future generations. If it weren't for her, education wouldn't have been different. Ruby Bridges has made a huge impact on the world through education. She taught everyone that you can make a difference no matter how big or how small you are. When trying to make a difference in the world, everyone should know that they shouldn't let anything get in their way and they should always have courage and faith in themselves. At first, when she started attending an all-white school, it went from hundreds of angry protesters to barely any protesters at all. Because of her braveness, now everyone can attend the same school, eat at the same restaurants, drink from the same drinking foundations, and everyone can use the same bathroom. After she went through all of that, society had changed, and now in the US, segregation was illegal. Ruby Bridges has a really powerful quote that everyone should know. She said, Racism is a grown up disease, and we must stop using our children to spread it. This was a powerful message because it is stating how racism should stop and that we should stop spreading it. It is showing that no person should be treated differently only because of their race or skin color.